I have a problem with some of the tweets, and I'm not going to be bullied or influenced by anybody. And I said at the time, whether it's Congress, newspaper, editorial boards, or the president, I'm going to do what I think is right. And I think I cannot do my job here at the department with a constant background commentary that undercuts me.
I think that if the Attorney General says it's getting in the way of doing his job, maybe the President should listen to the Attorney General.
All right, the Senate Majority Leader, the Attorney General, on the President's tweets about the Roger Stone sentencing, the White House saying that the President can say what he wants and respects the Attorney General. Let's bring in our panel. Byron York, Chief Political Correspondent of the Washington Examiner, Mara Liasson, National Political Correspondent of National Public Radio, and Washington Post columnist Marc Thiessen. Mara, your thoughts?
I think, I'm sorry.
Mark, but I can go with Mark first.
Okay,
go ahead.
Sorry.
It's just one letter difference.
Mara,
It's only one letter.
One letter. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Mark, after you.
I mean, I think the President should listen to the Senate Majority Leader and the Attorney General. Look, it seems like every time a dark cloud is lifted from the Trump presidency, Trump prays for rain. He literally, the day after the Mueller probe cleared him of any collusion with Russia, he calls the President of Ukraine and asked him to investigate Hunter Biden, which gave the Democrats the pretext they needed to do this political impeachment. Now, just days after the Senate acquittal, he's starting a controversy over Roger Stone. This is a man who has 49% approval, but he's also got 63% economic approval, which means there is 14% of the country that likes his economic policies but doesn't approve of him. Those people are gettable. Those people he can win over between now and November. That's his job, but he keeps alienating them because the reason they don't approve of him, even though they like his economic policies, is because the chaos.
Right. Understanding all of that, the Trump supporters say, listen, the sentencing was egregious, that this is a president that's been bombarded by investigations, and he feels aggrieved and wants to make that clear.
He could pardon Roger Stone or commute his sentence after he gets one.
Please don't say that.
but he can. He has things that are within his rights to do. And I feel like we have heard this so many times. Republicans have begged him to stop tweeting. His wife even asked him to stop tweeting.
Yep.
That's not going to happen. He doesn't want to stop. He feels this
but
is the best way of
different, isn't it, when the Attorney General says it's making it impossible to do my job?
You would think so. You would think so, but I can't imagine that there's going to be much of a change. The Attorney General is begging him to please cease and desist. Let me do, and it sounds like the Attorney General probably would have come out where Trump wanted him to anyway.
Don't you think the Attorney General or someone had communication with the White House saying, I'm going to say something like this?
Yeah, sure.
Because it seems like we would have seen a tweet.
Barr is a very smart operator, and it would be very surprising if he actually just surprised the president with this. So Barr's right. McConnell is right about Barr, and the president, at least through the Stephanie Grisham statement, has not indicated that he wants to have a public fight with his attorney general. But there is, as you suggested, there are two issues. I mean, there's one, the inappropriateness of what the president said, but then there's also the question of this sentence. And it does appear there are a number of lawyers who believe that the prosecutors used questionable reasoning to try to get to the highest level of possible sentence for Roger Stone. Not that they think he should not go to jail. They just think he should go to jail for 3 to 4 years instead of 7 to 9 years.
They've been blindsided by the 7 to 9 recommendation.
Well, it depended on how far it went up in the Justice Department.
But I thought Bill Barr is in charge of all political things that affect the president's friends.
Listen, I've gotten complaints from 2 people who were involved in the Mueller investigation, neither of whom were indicted, who thought that Aaron Zelensky, who was kind of the lead attorney to withdraw himself from this, was zealous, hostile, and connected dots that weren't there.
Let alone the lead juror now, and the questions about that. I mean, does that spur a question about a new trial and what the judge is going to do or not do?
Possibly, but then let it play out. I mean, the president. The problem is the president interfering while the process is taking place. He has, as Mara points out, he has the power to pardon him. He has the power to commute his sentence, reduce his sentence. He can do whatever he wants. Let the process play out. Let Barr do his job, and then if he doesn't like the outcome at the end, he's got the power to change it.
Well, as expected,
he's a sore winner.
Sore winner. As expected, this has spurred all kinds of questions on Capitol Hill, including the House Speaker with the I word.
Attorney General has stooped to such levels. He's lied to Congress for which will be in contempt. That doesn't mean that we're going to spend all of our time going after every lie that the administration henchmen make to the Congress of the United States.
All they have is a mission to impeach, and this is all they continue to drive. When the rest of America would like to move on from their nightmares they put us through.
Marc?
Doesn't sound like she's going to start another impeachment. I mean, I know Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy has an interest in
stirring the impeachment fires.
Stirring the impeachment fires, because that's something that has worked for the president's base. That's why his numbers have gone up. But the Nancy Pelosi feels that nothing has changed. The president's behavior hasn't changed, so she's going to continue to criticize him. I would find it very hard to believe that they start another impeachment process.
Well, impeachment took from September to February. Now, how fast could this one get started? It's impossible.
I don't think they're going to start
It's impossible to believe that. But they've always wanted to use investigation as a way of weakening this president as he goes into re-election. They're going to keep doing it.
Whether it's this or some other investigation.
As the Republicans
yet to be
did
named.
to President Obama. I mean, that's
the sound
standard.
you hear is 31 House Democrats face-palming right now because the idea this impeachment has been so bad for those House moderates who now have to run in Trump districts that he won, defending their vote on impeachment. The last thing they want is another impeachment, whether of Trump or of Barr.
Which is worse, another round of impeachment or Bernie Sanders at the top of the Democratic ticket? Here is Sanders responding to concerns in the Democratic Party about that.
We are the strongest campaign to defeat Trump, because the way you defeat Trump is by having the largest voter turnout in the history of this country. And I think if you look at Iowa, you find that we saw a 33% increase in voting for younger people, voting at a higher rate than ever. In New Hampshire, you saw us doing extremely well in working class communities.
And now another win. The Culinary Union in Nevada says, you know what, we're not going to endorse anybody.
Which was expected. But it came after some pretty harsh words between them and the Sanders campaign, because the Sanders campaign, the Culinary Union felt were going after them unfairly and a little too aggressively. But look, Bernie Sanders talks about a 33% increase. It was a 33% increase in voters aged 18 to 29. They are 1% of the electorate. There was no huge turnout surge in Iowa. And in New Hampshire, even though they pretty much matched what they got in 2008, which is really good, Bernie Sanders did not see a huge uptick. As a matter of fact, he got about half, if not less, of the votes he got last time.
Moderates were up.
Yes, moderates were up, but not for him.
But to the point of lawmakers, Democratic lawmakers on Capitol Hill behind us, worried.
Worried.
It's red alert status.
Yes.
The reason they're worried is that this is a guy who got the most votes in Iowa and the most votes in New Hampshire. And of course you can make the argument that Pete Buttigieg barely won the delegate race in Iowa, so maybe they're co-front runners. But the fact is Bernie Sanders is a front runner in this race.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. But he is for so many positions that are net unpopular in battleground states. That's why Democrats
$97.5 trillion in new spending, 70% of GDP spent by the government, half of the American workforce working for the government if Bernie Sanders' proposals were put into place. But other than that, great idea.
Panel, thanks. When we come back, a buzzer beater one player will never forget.